My favorite scene with him would have to be the part when my arm gets ripped off.
With the rise of shows like Stranger Things and The Umbrella Academy, it might not be shocking to meet some phenomenal young actors. But what is shocking is finding out just how young some of these stars are. Hollywood has 12-year-olds playing assassins and 8-year-olds dealing with such mature content we can't even imagine how they were even allowed on the set. It's time to uncover some child stars who were just way too young for their roles.
You're not sorry, but you will be.
Millie Bobby Brown is probably one of the best actresses of her generation, and it isn't surprising when you think about how young she was when she got her big break on a little show called Stranger Things. Millie was just 11 when she was cast as 11, and barely 12 when she began filming.
So I was pretty nervous to not have any hair.
That doesn't sound too young until you think about what kind of character 11 was in season 1. Millie's character was someone who took lives. Accidentally, but still, who was tortured and who suffered some intense loss. That's a lot for any preteen. But the Duffer brothers admitted they didn't even pay attention to their age, just that they were able to deliver a very rich human experience despite what age body they were in. One thing is for sure, she did a pretty epic job.
Burberry, I know, it's just fantastic.
Millie Bobby Brown wasn't the only youngling on the series. Noah Schnapp was and is the same age as his co-star.
When I was around like 6 years old, I knew I wanted to be on that stage. I knew I wanted to be an actor.
Ironically, the two youngest of the ensemble cast are the ones who had the darkest storylines. Noah played Will Byers, who was kidnapped, stuck in the horror-filled Upside Down, and had too many close calls when it came to his life. Even preparing for season 2 got dark for Noah. He was 13 and reading stories about possession so that he could really understand Will and get into character. That's some dark stuff.
It just makes me feel like more of a freak.
You're not a freak.
Yeah, I am.
What teenager is able to pull off playing a 58-year-old man? You'd probably think no one until you realize that Aidan Gallagher did exactly that for his role as number 5 in Umbrella Academy. While 5 looks like a teen, he has the mental state of a middle-aged man.
A 58-year-old time-traveling assassin who gets stuck in his teenage body.
This meant 14-year-old Aidan spent his time on set plotting to save the world, taking down assassins, and drinking a lot of coffee. Mckenna Grace has been in mature roles like Annabelle, I, Tonya, and The Haunting of Hill House. However, her role in The Handmaid's Tale definitely wins for the role she is way too young for.
It was not my choice.
At just 14, she took on Esther Keyes, a child bride who has been through a huge amount of abuse in her life. Her parents wouldn't even allow her to watch the series until she found out she got the role. But Mckenna, being the professional she is, thinks the whole point of her role was to make people uncomfortable and said, "Some people have had to go through it, so I wanted to make sure that I did it right." Isla Johnston was the perfect young Beth Harmon. But what we're truly not over is how this 12-year-old was able to convey all the emotions of this damaged little girl. We all know Beth had a horrific childhood and dealt with self-medicating and mental illness, two things no 12-year-old should even have to think about. It may just be acting, but it's still some pretty dark content. On the outside, Ginny and Georgia might look like some funny little comedy, but when you start peeling those layers episode by episode, you reveal an extremely twisted show. 9-year-old Diesel La Torraca, who played Austin Miller, was stuck in the middle of all that. He played a character who not only suffered from mental illness, but with absent parents, fraud, and even homicides. Yikes.
Georgie, meet Pennywise.
Pennywise scares us. Can you imagine what seeing the clown would do to someone who was 9? Well, it actually didn't scare Jackson Robert Scott as much as you'd think. Jackson played the adorable Georgie, who was involved in some highly graphic scenes like these.
I was a little bit scared because I didn't know what he was gonna look like.
We can never forget this bone-chilling Hunger Games scene. Jennifer Lawrence is amazing, but Willow Shields is the one who really impressed us in this moment. At just 11 years old, she was able to portray such a heart-wrenching character in Primrose. A child who has lost her father, suffered through hunger, and now the reality that she might lose her life or lose her sister.
Just trying to win. Maybe you can.
Name one person you know who didn't absolutely love Arya Stark in Game of Thrones. Arya and her actress Maisie Williams were a fan favorite during all 8 seasons of the show. But what a lot of people don't realize is that Maisie was only 12 years old when she became the dangerous assassin, and wore the faces of the deceased. Yeah, gross. But as Maisie has said, Arya was the assassin everyone's rooting for.
That was really interesting because that doesn't really happen much in Arya's storyline.
Usually, Hollywood casts actors that are older than their teen characters. But for Pretty Little Liars, Allison's actress, Sasha Pieterse, was just 12 years old when she was cast, while the rest of the liars were in their 20s. Her age is the reason why Sasha wasn't cast as Hannah instead. They were able to get away with some pre-teen friendly scenes in the beginning, but we can all admit that Allison was getting into some mature situations as a teen that we can't believe Sasha played off.
And I think the fans are going to be really happy with what happens with our characters.
We still haven't gotten the image of the bent-neck lady out of our heads when we saw her in The Haunting of Hill House. So how was 7-year-old Violet McGraw, also known as Young Nellie, able to film that without being absolutely terrified? The truth is, while there were some pretty graphic scenes she got through, like the passing of Nellie's mom, they made things on set for her seem fun and always knew the ghosts were actors. But she still wasn't able to watch herself in the final cut.
You're scared, I can tell. How? Because I'm scared.
Trying to comprehend being kidnapped and locked underground is tough for most adults, let alone 8-year-old Jacob Tremblay. Jacob took the character of Jack in the film Room in stride and totally had us all believing he knew what it was like to be held in captivity for his entire life. He was able to grasp the content so well that the director credited him for making the movie as successful as it was. We're hoping his Critics' Choice Award is still proudly next to his Millennium Falcon.
I also want to thank my parents, and I love them very much.
Shameless does not lack R-rated content. This comedy series is definitely meant for adults. However, that didn't stop them from having a very young cast, including 11-year-olds Ethan Cutkosky and Emma Kenney, who played characters Debbie and Carl Gallagher. They were right smack bang in the middle of it all, oftentimes being involved in these scenes, but Emma says her parents didn't allow her to watch the show until high school.
My childhood experiences, and I don't feel like I was neglected of any of that, which I'm happy about.
A Quiet Place is one of the 2000s creepiest horror movies, and 13-year-old actress Millicent Simmonds was a part of it all. Not only does her character witness the passing of 2 family members, but overall she deals with horrific and graphic scenes involving the alien monsters, scenes we couldn't even imagine dealing with today. The adorable Sonny Pawar was only 8 years old when he filmed Lion as the young version of Saru. Just the premise of the film alone tells you how mature Sonny must be for his age. Saru was separated from his parents at such a young age and then suddenly taken from his home and adopted by an Australian couple.
I am my best.
These actors and their mature acting jobs are really all the proof we need that age is just a number. In fact, dare we say, some of these actors are the reason why their projects were so successful in the first place. Which actor's age were you most shocked to find out about?